This video is brought to you by Guards 2 Chaos in Hell, the upcoming turn-based tactics game with extremely simple rules but even more extremely deep mechanics. In order to survive the hordes of the underworld and face the devil himself, you'll need to choose a party of 4 fearless heroes. This includes a crossbow-wielding demon hunter, the brave and powerful warrior princess, and this absolutely delightful curmudgeon of an alchemist.
Oh, I hates it when monsters hit their balls over my fence.
I love him, and that's what he sounds like in my head. The unique battle system has you continually swapping your heroes from offensive front lines to the safety of the back, meaning that you'll always need to be planning one step ahead to
Get those monsters off my lawn.
Settle down, Alchemist. Over 160 missions to survive, 8 heroes, each with a deep upgradable tech tree, but only one crotchety old man. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to Steam, wishlist Guards 2 Chaos in Hell. Check out the free playable prologue today because you wouldn't want to disappoint this old codger, would you?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Firelink Podcast, episode number 59 for Thursday, March 20th, the first day of spring 2025. Marty Sleva here, joined by Casey Wosu, producer Eric, and Nick phoning in from 20, 30, 40,000 feet in the air. I don't know how high a plane goes.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I don't know.
30,000.
Probably
that's like
somewhere.
the number people are always like, oh, it's 30,000 feet.
What is it? The aerosphere? That section of sky?
That can't be a thing. What is that? The aerosphere?
There's like ozone. There's stratosphere.
Yeah.
There's aerosphere.
Yeah. Aerosmith.
Yeah, he's on the ground though.
Yeah, he's on the ground. He doesn't go that high up.
Yeah.
Nick is flying back from GDC, but will be back with us next week. Welcome, everyone. We have a wonderful little show for you guys today. We're going to be chatting. Today is actually the 5th anniversary of a day I hold near and dear to me because it's the 5th anniversary of the day that Animal Crossing New Horizons, Doom Eternal, and the dread of the pandemic all set in for me. So it was a big HBD to that day. So chatting a little about that. Some news on the God of War television series coming to Amazon and how an acclaimed showrunner who's working on it said some things about really not caring about video games, and some folks got real mad. And I want to know, should we be mad?
You telling me folks on the internet got upset about a thing that was said?
Can't believe it. A game
Unheard of.
No one has gotten mad about, though, is Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is out today. I streamed a little bit of it earlier today with Jess and Jack. I've got to play a bit and just give some loose early impressions of that. Spoilers are relatively positive, as well as I finished off Split Fiction, so talking about that. And then, I'm going to be honest, Casey listed 2 things. No idea what they are. I'm very excited.
Neat. I'm happy to talk about them.
Zero idea. Also, I'm going to tap Eric in for as our Xenoblade correspondent, because all I've done is download Xenoblade Chronicles X, but Eric has played it. He knows that it takes place in a place called possibly New LA or something. So
New LA.
Eric knows way more than I do.
Wasn't LA kind of New LA?
This is newer. This is like super new. Super new. Yeah, I mean, yes, we stole everything from everyone. We stole everything from everyone, but then they stole it again from us, so it's fine.
You know what? Fair.
And welcome, everyone in YouTube, so many members of the Green Gang, anyone listening on your podcast service of choice, and of course, our wonderful patrons at that $5 tier and above. We gathered up some of your comments to read throughout this show. And remember, if you're at the $5 tier or above, you can comment on a post every week. Maybe get your thoughts, your jokes, your guffaws, your recipes. No one's putting recipes. What's going on?
You gotta get a recipe. Every day we look in that goddamn thread and say, where the F are the recipes?
How am I making cheddar bay biscuits? No one's putting in. How much baking soda do I use? But before we get started right off the bat, Inverse Skies with $3 Australian. I just loved the Isabel Cross Doom Guy art.
Yeah, there was a lot of that floating all over the place.
We don't get those days really anymore. We had it like a year or two ago in the movies with Barbenheimer. Remember that? Barbie and
they're
Oppenheimer?
exceptionally rare, right? Like
Yeah.
stuff is releasing all the time, but you need the perfect storm of a thing that is high profile, highly anticipated, and completely in opposition to two things that fit those two categories, but then those two things are in complete opposition to each other.
Exactly. You can't really have things competing. They need to be like so far removed that it's like, oh, this is okay. I guess this will work together. Like whoever first created peanut butter and jelly.
And that's why it works so well.
That's why it works so well, because it needs someone who's a genius.
Was that the first counter programming success, peanut butter and jelly? And then you've just been chasing that ever since?
There's probably like something in the Bible, like water and wine. No, water became wine.
Like Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
Jesus and Mary Magdalene, exactly.
Like, you know what? This just works, huh?
They're the original Barbenheimer, I think. It's funny. I remember a different day. I don't even know if we're in the topic. We don't have to be in the topic yet. But I remember a different day. I believe it was October 30th. No, October 27th, 2017 was a triple header for games. We had, speaking of Assassin's Creed Origins, we had Wolfenstein: The New Colossus and Mario Odyssey. And that was a humdinger of a day. You got 3 big games. Assassin's Creed finally going RPG. Wolfenstein coming back for a bigger, better sequel. And the big Switch game of the fall. That was a big day. Something else probably happened too. Spaceship probably crashed, or I don't know, moon landing. Have you landed on the moon recently?
No, we.
Do you got any thoughts about that original one?
I'm not. There's a level of skepticism that exists in me, but it's a level that I don't want to admit to.
Sure.
It stems from my general distrust of the government.
Sure.
But also people who distrust the government to that level are generally not okay. Exactly. And I don't want to be that not okay.
I have a similar thought, and then I get this moment where I start looking around the room around me, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want to be in the same room as these people.
Exactly. That's exactly
it. Maybe I'm wrong. And then Sussy Guru with a €5 dono before we get started. Casey, with the proxy now canonically being able to enter the Hollow, what should her fighting style be if she becomes a playable fighter with the proxy now canonically able to enter the Hollow?
This is in reference to Zenless Zone Zero. And this is information that I am finding out for the first time because I've not touched Zenless Zone Zero for a long time. Like about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I loaded up the launcher because I was like, I'm gonna hop in today just to like get my feet wet again, and just never got around to it because like I just have to do other stuff. But like,
sure,
I miss it. I want to go back. That's exciting. I doubt the proxy will have a fighting style. The proxy can't fight. Like that's why they use tools and stuff. They're a hacker.
Okay, it's literally a proxy. Yeah, proxy.
Yeah, like they can't fight. If they enter the Hollow, it'll be for like story missions where they just walk around, and I don't think they'll be a playable character.
Interesting.
Lore-wise, I think it would be stupid to make them a playable character.
Yeah, you don't play Honkai, right?
No, that's
okay.
JRPG, and I'm generally just not big on those.
Only bring that up because Jack in the stream earlier was talking about, because I was raiding a camp. I was raiding all sorts of like silks and fabrics and stuff from a camp in Assassin's Creed, and Jack started talking about Joanne Fabrics going out of business. But then we started talking about Jack buys a lot of fabrics because he makes cosplays for his kids.
He mentioned that. Yeah, one of his, I think his younger son is like getting into cosplay and stuff.
Yeah,
and he did a Honkai Star Rail character.
I've
done a similar thing with my son. Like I was never really big into cosplay. Mm-hmm. Always wanted to be big into Halloween and never really did it. So I've used Halloween once my son was born as a means of getting into cosplay. And so I would make like kind of themed costumes for him and myself. Like in our first big one was like us dressing as the Lynx from Ocarina of Time. Like he was young Link and I was adult Link.
Really good.
And we took photos at the mall and stuff, and those went viral back in the day on a bunch of like cosplay groups because he was so cute. It's because of him. It's not because of me.
Turns out putting a kid in a costume that's honestly just a cheat code, getting people to click things. Jack was like, "We dress up as anime character," and I was like, "Oh, who's the anime character?" And they said, "I'm like, I don't know what that is." And he's like, "It's from Honkai Star Rail." And I was like,
Yeah, I'm totally clueless on
and I was like,
characters.
that's not anime. That's a video game.
Video games can be anime. I think that's okay. Like if the story exists in that art style, it's an anime story in my mind.
So like Metaphor ReFantazio is an anime to you, even though it doesn't have an anime?
Yeah, it's an anime video game. It's not an anime TV series, but it is anime. Like in no real way is it not anime.
No, I think I need to check myself. I think I need to start opening myself up to that. And then a Wild Josh with 20 whole donos. Thank you so much, a Wild Josh. 20 whole dollars in one dono. It wasn't 20 separate donos. It was one dono. It was a very sensible dono. Finally caught a stream live, and Casey is looking streets ahead in the Greendale shirt. E pluribus anus to all. Incredible.
God, I love that shit. Yeah.
Only people who don't say streets ahead are streets behind. So
streets behind, yeah.
No.
Get ready to bear down for midterms.
Bear down for midterms. What if we just, instead of talking about any video games, we just talk about community? And it's just it's not even a full conversation. It's just one of us saying a thing, and then the other one laughing, and then the other one saying a thing, and the other one. That'd be great.
It would fill the full 2.5 hours or however long this show is.
No, I said we're going to try to keep it short. What have you done?
I forget how long this
what have you done? How are you? This is possibly your last podcast before becoming a married man.
That's not technically true. I am having a wedding ceremony. It is a traditional wedding ceremony that is recognized by like my family's states back home in Nigeria, and like our like family and their various organizations and societies and whatnot. It is not legally recognized.
Gotcha.
Yet, because that portion is saved for the destination wedding in St. Lucia, which is still in July.
Gotcha. This is like the tutorial, the prologue.
Marriage prologue. Marriage prologue, yes.
Marriage tutorial mission. But yes,
I still have more marriage on the way.
Yeah, it's like a season pass.
I signed up to the battle pass.
You have a whole rollout planned. Nice little roadmap for the rest of the summer. But okay, let's talk about our first thing, which we did touch on. This is the 5th anniversary of Animal Crossing / Doom Eternal releasing right at the beginning of the pandemic, and that was just I just wanted to touch on that because like those were two really big games. Like, I mean, we're only getting the new Doom game now in May, and then Animal Crossing, maybe we'll see the new one at the Switch event in a week and a half or so. But these were two of the biggest games of 2020. Animal Crossing remains, I think, one of the second biggest Switch game, I think, after Mario Kart. I think it's the second best-selling Switch game, like even more than Mario or Zelda or Smash or a single Pokemon game.
What they call it, Blue Ocean, like it broke through that little.
Just fucking it's there. It's there now, yeah. But this was a pairing of games that I just remember fondly. Also because it was a few weeks into the pandemic, and like I just like those two games. Playing through them like are ingrained in my memory, like and oscillating between the two of them of like the insanity of Doom Eternal and the sort of cathartic, violent loop you find yourself in, and then like Animal Crossing being a thing that I was like, oh, all my friends are playing, and even people who don't play games are playing it, and we're invading each other's dreams, which is a weird thing to do in that game.
There was a ton of social media presence for Animal Crossing as well. Like there was a lot of just fun, like memes and jokes, and like people showing off like the way they design their towns, or just weird interactions with some of the townsfolk. So like it was a real cultural zeitgeist in that way, when everyone was legit just stuck in the house. And Freak Job over in the Patreon, put the name down as Freak Job. I'm just not calling someone a Freak Job out here. Said that we've had plenty of games unite us in negative ways, such as the disastrous Cyberpunk launch or the Helldivers 2 region locking, but Doom and Animal Crossing united us positively. What are any other favorite instances that brought everyone together? The first one that comes to mind is Pokemon Go, and honestly, those are like the two I remember: the summer of Pokemon Go, and then the awful spring of Animal Crossing. Like those felt like the things that, like you said, broke through to the normies. Like how often do like normie friends talk about games with you, like things that kind of break through to them? I have like have different sets of friends.
Sure.
And like my core set of friends that I like grew up with, they are like a bunch of gamers. Like,
okay, so
few to my obsessive degree. Like maybe Jeff comes the closest. Like a friend Superman Jeff, who I do Super Smash Sunday with. But yeah, in general, a lot of other folks we just don't talk about video games. Like they know that is a big part of my life, but that's just not what we talk about because they do not care.
So like nothing even like these were two things that I remember. And they might be literally the only two. Like Elden Ring didn't do it for me, but like my pals I grew up with, again, don't play games, but they're like, oh, we heard about this, or I downloaded Pokemon Go. And I just don't know, like, if maybe Grand Theft Auto will be the next thing. That feels like it'll be big enough to where everyone will at least have oh, did you hear about this thing?
Right. Like, yeah, if they have a console, that'll be a game that they get, right? Because otherwise, at least in some of those other circles I'm mentioning, like those guys play sports games. Like they get the 2Ks and the Maddens and whatnot. Yeah. Maybe the FIFAs. Yeah. But then like, GTA comes out, then that's when they jump into that sort of nonsense.
Yeah. Inverse Guys with an interesting question. Did Street Fighter 2 achieve that in the 90s? I don't know. As a kid, as a kid, most of my friends played games, so I just don't know. Like, to me, all my friends were talking about Street Fighter 2. I don't know, like, if family members who didn't play games knew about Street Fighter 2, other than that was the thing they were driving me to the get store for and to the arcade for. Yeah.
If anything, like maybe Mario was like that sort of thing, because like everyone at least just knew what that was. Yeah, like, it was just. Oh
no, I was gonna say. I mean, we're the same age. In college, stuff like Wii Sports and like Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero for sure. Yeah,
were things that would like you go to like a party or someone's apartment, and those were there, and you'd be like, oh, this person doesn't really play games, but they have this thing. So it felt like
in college, Rock Band, fam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you want to get the girls to come by, tell them you got Rock Band. It's
that easy. It was that easy. I don't know. You can't do that now. You can't be like, oh, I got the new skins in Fortnite. You can't be like, I got Millie Bobby Brown from the Electric State in Fortnite. No one's coming over to your place for that. No one's coming over for that.
Yeah, man, good times back then.
Yeah,
our president was black.
Oh my God, my way back too. That was a Jay-Z song. My president is black. My way back too.
Wasn't that Jeezy?
If that was Jeezy, and that line was Jeezy, and then I think the next line was Jay-Z. There's really no way. If you say it close enough, Jay-Z and Jeezy, same thing.
You know what? It is close enough. You get a pass.
I've never seen the two of them in the same room together. There's no way to know. I'm curious. We haven't really had a day like that since in games, and just going back to the Animal Crossing thing, and I'm just curious if they'll counter. I guess what's their name? Horizon keeps like tripping into a day like that, or like a window like that, where it'll be like, we got a game. They're like, Zelda's coming out. Shut up. We got a game. Elden Ring's coming out. Shut your mouth.
Yeah, they're doing the opposite, right? The competition version, because they're not so far away from what the other thing is doing. Like you have to choose, and usually you just don't choose. As much as people love Horizon, you just don't choose the thing Horizon is always up against.
Yeah, I do. I also remember there was a day the weekend Avengers Endgame came out was also the weekend of the I think the second or third to last episode of Game of Thrones, the Battle of Winterfell one, which was kind of a bummer, like in retrospect, but that was really dark and everyone was complaining. But going into that weekend,
there was like a water bottle, it was like a coffee cup that was like left in scene that people were complaining about.
It's like, what if instead of that coffee cup, you guys put some lights on the show so I can see what's going on? But that was an exciting weekend. Maybe someday we'll get another one. Probably not though. We're all gonna die sad and without any of those cool days anymore.
There's still hope.
Counterpoint. Maybe there's still hope.
I'm gonna hold out hope.
The Audacity of Hope. That was Obama's book, right?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, I got it right. I don't want to get into politics. If Trump really runs again, Obama's going to run again, right? Is it going to be like a weird fictional battle?
He legally can't, right? But
laws don't matter anymore. Nothing matters.
Well, I heard something or saw something that was like, oh, he's trying to groom his son to essentially just kind of run afterwards. And clearly that would just
they're
be like
both such dipshits. They're both such fucking.
But would it matter because it would
just
just be a proxy? And we're back to Zenless Zone Zeros.
We're back to Zenless Zone Zero. Proxies can't be main characters. We know that. I learned that minutes ago. I think it'd be cool without knowing anything about Zenless Zone Zero. There he is. What is that? That's what is that? Eric, where do you get these wonderful toys? I think it'd be without knowing anything about a proxy. I think it would be cool if the proxy did become a character and they thought of an interesting way to mechanically
to make him fight. I mean, like, what are they, like a Pokemon trainer then?
Like a mech?
Like
an exosuit?
You put a whole mech in the
you don't have to put a whole mech. You can put a small mech. I don't know anything about this game. I don't know anything about this game, but I'm very invested in the proxy.
Just making sure the proxy gets their shine. It's okay.
Listen, yeah, I support the little guy. I don't know if the proxy's the little guy. William Gibbs with a $5 dono. Thank you so much, William Gibbs. Casey, congrats on the upcoming wedding. Speaking of destination weddings, mine was during the eclipse of 2024 in the Path of Totality. Have a blast. That's really
sick.
Cool. That's a big combo. Eclipse, Path of Totality, and wedding. That's like as big of a combo as Animal Crossing and Doom. Arguably.
But aren't those like connected? They're not like counter to each other. Like you have a total eclipse on your wedding. Like, is that a bad omen?
Yeah, I don't know what people used to think. I mean, I feel like
our marriage has moved the heavens, right? Like that. Like I feel like that.
Sure.
Like you want that sort of nonsense.
I feel like ancient cultures would be like, "Oh no, we've angered the sun. It's going away. We need to. It needs blood." Stat.
Yeah, both of you gotta go.
Both of you.
We should not have let this happen.
This union was clearly a mistake. But yeah, congrats. That's very exciting. Bookworm with a $2 dono. Thank you so much, Bookworm. Playing Pokemon Go in a rural area was funny and sad. Yeah, I was living in San Francisco at the time, and so there was like literally my like apartment was a gym. But I can't. What Eric's showing right now. That's incredibly sad.
Just nothing anywhere.
There's like what? Yeah, you don't even know it to scale. That might be like an ocean. That might be like LA to Tokyo. Is that body of water?
Like I was still a private eye when Pokemon Go was big, so I would use the fact that I would drive several hours all over the state to walk around and hunt Pokemon. Because what the fuck else am I doing out there?
You could have been, like, you were technically a Pokemon private eye at that point. That you were Detective Pikachu.
It was great cover. Like people were just walking around. Like strange people were just walking. Like I could walk clear through somebody's front door, not front door, front of their house, whatever. Like, oh, I'm just catching a Charizard. It's Charizard. You know Charizard, right? We can't let this pass up. I'm good, right? You're not gonna call the cops on me, right?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, what's your last name? By the way, served. I guess you weren't a process server, so you weren't really.
Yeah, I didn't serve anybody anything.
Did you ever try to become a process server?
No.
Just snitched. I've never heard anyone so gleefully be like, "Yeah, hell yeah." Those people deserved it, though.
No, honestly, I don't know whether some of them deserved it or not. And I say this all the time. I was bad at that job. I intentionally would not do that job well because I didn't want to get someone in trouble who was collecting like unemployment or whatever because they were hurt, whether they were lying or not. Like, what do I care? Like, take the fucking company. Yeah, take the company for whatever you want.
Oh, I
had to like, if they were just like blatantly out in the open and like, shit, I got the camera right here. Like, I might as well, right?
Yeah.
So every now and then, I gotta submit a thing that's like, yeah, this guy's fucking lying.
This is the first job I've ever had where I haven't every expense report been like, how much can I fleece from this company? Because now it's just me fleecing from myself,
right?
And now I'm like, shit, I can't do like I got to be thoughtful when I spend money on. Whereas every job before this, I was like, yeah, you goddamn right. If you're giving me $50 a day in food, I'm getting $50 a day in food, even if the last $12 is bottled water.
Like I would love it when my marks would like travel to like farmers markets or restaurants or whatever. Like I'm buying shit while I've been here. It helps the cover.
It helps the cover. And then S6 with $2 Thank you so much, S6. You have swapped sides and it hurts my brain. You know what? Change can sometimes be good. sometimes if you and your significant other have set sides in the bed, what do you think about changing for a little bit? See what happens.
She immediately took the side that I always slept on once we moved in together.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've recovered ever since. I think I'm still off.
Maybe. See? Oh, we swapped back. See? You should show this moment as like, hey, look what happens. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. It'll at least even out your beds. So that's not like your lump and her lump in the sides, like shared lumps. Eric, you just Google a picture of a bed? You just Googled bed? I mean, how's Eric?
This is what we're giving him to work with.
You do so good at pulling up stuff, but I feel like right now you're really phoning it because we said no to the filters. That's why. It's because we said no to the filters, and Eric.
We said no to a specific filter.
Yeah,
that's all.
There's Eric, sad person. Sussy Guru with a €5 dono. Thank you so much. Her style would be flailing around uncoordinatedly with her noodle arms, and her fighting would be based on pure dumb luck. Are we going back to the proxy?
That sounds like we're going back to the proxy.
Why are we hating on the proxy? What's the proxy's deal? Are they bad? Like, are people making fun of her?
I mean, there are two of them, technically. Well, actually, like it's a brother and sister, and you pick which one you're in control of at any given time, but you can swap. And one is like primary, I guess, in the cutscenes based on who you pick.
I like how
I also think they look cool. Like, I love the aesthetic in that game, which is like a big reason why I was drawn to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like urban chic, I guess. But some of the newer characters that they've been releasing they're dipping back into like a little more like frilly fantasy style, and I just haven't been drawn back. Like, I need them to get more style for me to be like, oh, I really want that character. Let me go get some currency and try to do some pulls.
Yeah, something that's like tapped into like one of the things I like about certain Japanese games like this is it feels like they're even like Splatoon. It feels like it's tapped into like fashion trends of like cool shit that like 16 to 25-year-olds are wearing, where I'm like, I don't understand it, but I think that's cool, and I like seeing like what the next cool thing is.
Splatoon has a level of edge for however goofy it is with its
surprisingly for a Nintendo game as well. So bring that back. Sorry, proxies. And then before we move on to our next topic, Fat Cock making a return with a $5 dono. Thank you so much, Fat Cock. I used to enjoy a podcast on Wednesday, but then they moved to Thursday, and I'm having trouble working with it. Damn. So first off, you didn't like us on the opposite sides. Now you don't like us. You know what? Again, the crazy thing is the reason we moved was because of Nick, and I think Nick has had like one Wednesday. Like, there's been one time where it wouldn't have been able to work out. I think he said we're going to move back once the season's over. I don't know what that means.
Should we?
It's a new season. It's spring. It's the first day of spring.
Like should we though? Like, what if we just let
Thursday
like
work? I honestly think Thursday works better because it gives us an
it's
extra
later
day.
And it's a shorter stream that we do, right?
Sure. I think all podcasts should be an hour, and if you go over an hour, you should be killed. Like, literally, I think an hour is the max any podcast should be, and the fact that we go 2 hours. I don't know.
We're just that good. We're just twice as good as any other podcast.
What are we just talking about how the sausage is made? Just give him the fucking sausage. Let him eat sausage and go on with their evenings.
If you could eat sausage for an extra hour, you would, though.
I can never have that much sausage, though, right? Like, I'm not like a gorger where it's like more meal. Like, I have a meal.
But that's only because you can't, because you start to feel sick and your stomach can't take it. But if you could, you would.
Oh, you're talking about like if I don't know. You start like losing the joy, right?
I don't know. Maybe like hour 4. Yeah, it's like, all right, this is getting old. I've been eating pizza for like 4 hours straight.
Deep says Marty yearns for the executioner's axe. Realest shit ever. And then Jewel Rao. Eventually, I'm gonna get to the next topic. But if every 45 seconds someone puts a dono, we might never get to the next time. We just might not have any other topics, which is fine. It's fine. You know, it's fine. It's fine to have a podcast where you put 2 things in a thumbnail and the title, and you just don't talk about them. Because you know who's gonna get mad? People I don't give a shit about. They're going to be like, it took you 45 minutes to get to Assassin's Creed. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, I think it's nice when you can pet the animals and run around. What do you want?
That could be any game.
Minutes? Why are you coming here to listen to what I have to say about Assassin's Creed? There's people who finished the game. Go watch those reviews.
No, watch us.
I mean, watch us. Yeah, but don't no. Don't leave. Don't go to the other reviews. I just mean, don't come to me to be like, should I get Assassin's Creed? Because I don't know. I'm not the person to tell you. I'll tell you what I think of it.
But that's why they come to you. But I think,
get away.
I think they come to you for exactly what you're going to tell them. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the trade-off.
I'm going to tell them that I kept chasing a raccoon and it turned out I couldn't pick it up and I got really mad. I chased it like through a forest for several minutes and no prompt came up. Joel Rao with a €5 dono. Thank you so much. Played through Rise of Ronin just now. Had a blast with the combat and even with the collectibles. Did you ever do Rise of Ronin?
I keep forgetting that's a thing. That's PlayStation exclusive though, right?
And I think it came to PC, but yes, I do. I think it's a
okay.
PlayStation console exclusive. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. If I ever get around to owning that game, I guess, or if it's in the account or something and I have some free time, I would check it out. But it does. Yeah, it does look.
It just came to Steam on the 10th.
Oh, it just came to Steam.
Ooh, It's got a lot of negative reviews. I don't know if something happened. Everything broke.
Well, they're upset over there all the time.
There's probably my optimization, my graphics card. bunch of New Jersey Italians playing Rise of Ronin. But yeah, we should get that in the account because I don't think anyone played it and talked about it. So it'd be cool if, I don't know, someone played. You can become a Rise of the Ronin correspondent. Do what I do, just play 3 hours and chase a raccoon and then talk about it.
Chase that bird on screen.
Chase that bird. Look at that bird. Is that Rise of the Ronin?
Is that an eagle? Is Assassin's Creed? What is this?
This is Assassin's Creed. You put the wrong game up, Eric. Nope, never mind. Rise of the Ronin. You were right. King Dad with a $2 dono. Thank you so much. I vote for 2 hours on Thursday. All right. An hour 27 it is on a Thursday. And Fungus Finder with a $2 dono. Favorite type of sausage? Andouille is pretty good. Andouille is pretty good. I like a Polish sausage. I like a kielbasa. I like a bratwurst.
My sausage knowledge is woefully underbaked.
That's fine. Oh my God, there's the Milwaukee Brat House in Milwaukee. You go there and you're like, if you're like, I want a sausage, and then you're going to have to answer several questions, which is a little intimidating.
When
Milwaukee Brat House.
Jack, and you were there, if I remember, like we went to a place that specialized in. We did in sausages.
That was not the Milwaukee Brat House.
Okay, it was a different one. Okay.
No, that's a much different Milwaukee. Yeah, Eric knows.
I didn't think that place was that great as well. So.
Neither did I. No, company was good. The place was kind of lackluster. Yeah. I'm not gonna blame Jack. I've never chose that.
No, Jack knows the spots. We went to several spots. That was the one spot that was like, the pizza spot was great.
What the
safe house was great. Oh my God, that burger place was great.
Oh my God,
the burger and ice cream place was amazing. We randomly just went to like a restaurant in the Harley Davidson Museum, and that place had amazing food.
yeah.
Like some of the best. What do you call it? Chicken. No.
Chicken tendies?
No, it was chicken. Buffalo chicken mac and cheese.
Ooh, buffalo chicken mac and cheese.
It's the best I'd ever had.
It's a very good combo.
In the Harley Davidson Museum restaurant.
What a weird sentence to say to someone.
It's very
none of that's real. Made that up. We're gonna move on to our next topic because this is a real podcast filled with adults. So, we mentioned earlier, you have to like a thing to adapt a thing, and this is coming because so the Amazon is doing a God of War television series. It's going to be at least 2 seasons long, they've confirmed. And one of the writers on staff is Ronald D. Moore, who's a legendary TV writer, most known for being the showrunner of Battlestar Galactica, which I never watched, but I know is like a beloved.
Were there 2?
Yeah, there was like an
old
original
one and a new one.
Yeah, there was an original one, and then there was one like early 2000s, I think, that was like kind of one of those ushered in the prestige era of TV, like around the same time as The Sopranos and stuff. But he is a writer on God of War, and he was being interviewed about it, and he talked about how he has not played the game. Well, he's older. He's not played the games, he said, because they're too complicated for me. He's like, these games are too complicated, and I tried to play it, and I couldn't. And it's just, so I'm not going to play it. And this got people seemingly very angry, saying, you shouldn't be working on a video game adaptation if you aren't playing the game. Like, the problem with video game adaptations is they're not faithful enough. And then at the same time, people are pointing to other things like, well, the guy who's showrunning Andor, he just says he hates Star Wars. And he's made the best Star Wars thing maybe since George Lucas. So, like, it's like a strange, I don't know, like, first off, like, what specifically God of War, how do you feel about this series? Mm-hmm. And then how do you feel about the idea that a guy writing it hasn't played
does not care about the game? Yeah. I've said this about pretty much all of Sony's first party things, is that they are actually very good fodder for adaptation, because they spend a lot of time trying to emulate the language of TV in the games anyway. And God of War, in my opinion, was one of the better actual games to marry that with Sony's level of sort of dramatic interactive storytelling. Because I'm generally down on some of their stuff, specifically Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon Zero Dawn, for being less game than mostly Horizon Zero Dawn. But either way, I think all of it would make a good adaptation. I'm curious though, are they trying to do the rebooted God of War story, or are they like, we're telling the God of War story starting with?
I believe it is going to be the Norse story. I imagine they will do flashbacks to Greece.
Right. Yeah, they can get away with that.
Yeah. Like, that's an easy way to have 70-80% of it take place in Norse, but still be able to hit some of those big. Because, like, when you play God of War 2018, you can, like, see the arc of a season or two of TV there. If you play the original God of War game, you'd be like, well, is he just going to fight people every? He's just
those
really angry
those games actually don't tell a great story. Like, there are good moments in the original trilogy. So as a whole, it's like, oh, Kratos did all these things and that was cool. But like, the actual plot of him going through that was not all that entertaining. It was mostly the gameplay that carried that. And as it should, of a game of that caliber. So I think that's the right call, to start with the Norse version and then just give, nice little flashbacks and references to the original trilogy, because that's kind of all it would be good for, to just paint more backstory for the character in this story.
Yeah.
In terms of a showrunner who has not played or read the source material or whatnot, we really don't have enough data to prove that that's a factor in whether a thing ends up being good or not. Like, because we've had both sides of this. We've had people who were super immersed in whatever the source material were, make good things. And we've had people who were super immersed in the source material, make bad things, and vice versa. We've had people who tried to be very faithful to an adaptation and that fall flat on its face, and people who adapted and completely changed what a thing was, took several liberties with what a thing was, and it come out fantastically, right? Yeah. So like, it really kind of just comes down to the production. Like, it's really hard to say that anything about what and I'm sorry, I forgot the showrunner's name.
The Ronald D. Moore.
Yeah, it's hard to say that anything Ronald D. Moore does in preparation for this will hurt or help it until we see what comes out the other side.
I mean, it's also, I think there are some games that in order to get, you need to play. I feel like you can kind of get God of War if you watch it, if you watch the cutscenes.
Yeah, thanks to the way Sony tells their video game stories, right?
Sony Last of Us, absolutely. Like, yes, you get something more out of the, tense combat encounters of The Last of Us Part 2, where you're hiding in the grass and there's a fucking dog sniffing for you and you're low on ammo and everything. Like, there's something there that you don't get if you're just watching it. But in terms of the story, it's Overzealous Enthusiast says it's cinematic already. Like, it's
it's not groundbreaking, right? Like, it's not like, and I think this is still a project that's on the way. Like, it's not BioShock, where like there's something intrinsic in the video game that needs to be translated somehow. So like, that's something you would have to play to get and understand if you're going to take a crack at translating that into another medium, because it may not work. You might have to do something new to try and mimic that thing, which could be cool or fall flat on his face. But God of War is just, it's a dad with a past trying to raise a single dad. Trying to raise a boy.
Single dad. Raise a boy named Boy. That's a pretty good point when you think about kids. Like, what are the games that you would say, like, oh, you kind of need to play to get, like, a Souls game? can you get it without playing? I've watched a playthrough of Sekiro. Do I get it?
Do you get it? Do you get what? Do you get the story of Sekiro because you played it? Because I would argue not really.
Well, I don't get the story of any Souls game. I don't get the story.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So if you were going to make an adaptation of a Souls game, what are you adapting? Are you adapting all that lore into a coherent plot? Because that's an avenue you could go, because the game actually doesn't really do that. That could be of interest to an audience that likes the games, because they can get an actual coherent story.
Yeah. Shit.
But like in terms of adapting the feeling of playing Dark Souls, I don't know how that would work. Like, and if somebody did it, would that be cool, or would I be in the movie theater very frustrated?
Like, well, why aren't I just home playing this game right now? It's funny. I just like an hour before we went live, they announced that Split Fiction, the latest game from Hazelight, is getting a movie adaptation by the same studio that is confirmed to be doing an It Takes Two adaptation.
Yeah, I remember It Takes Two. They announced that
a while ago.
Yeah, like sometime after it won Game of the Year.
Yeah,
they announced that.
So it's like, okay, both these things are getting movie adaptations. Like,
well, Joseph Fares has always been tied to movies. Like, he used to make movies. His brother stars in movies. Yeah. So like he's always had ties there. So that checks out. That's something to dabble in.
But yeah, which is funny because I mean we'll get to it a little later. But I finished Split Fiction earlier today, and it is a game whose like story I think is so dumb, but whose gameplay I think is like really good. It's one of those. It's like the story is so like eye rolly and obvious at every turn, in my opinion. But the gameplay is just so fun that I'm like, that's a hearty recommendation for me. So
yeah, and video games get away with that. Like you don't have the interactivity to lean on when you do an adaptation. So yeah. Sometimes that's and like that was so clear to me when I watched that. I watched the Assassin's Creed movie. This is before I worked for Ubisoft.
Yeah.
And I was so hyped for it because the trailers, like the actors they picked, the aesthetic, the look of that game is dead on. Yeah. And they did the thing that like back when I was doing like my own solo content, I said, this is how games should do adaptations. You should take the source material, everything that's in it, and then tell your own story. They did that. And it just did not work. And it was a revelation to me, like, oh, I guess the plot's actually very thin in these games. And the thing that ties it all together is your participation.
During while playing Assassin's Creed Shadows today, I was like 7 hours into the game or whatever, and I'm playing with Jack and Jess, and they're just watching. And Jack's like, "So why are you an assassin?" And I was like, "Oh, my dad and my mentor got killed in front of me, and I got to go hunt down the 9 people who did it." He's like, "Yeah, but why? Like, why are you like an assassin with like the blade and stuff?" And I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "Well, why are you connected?" And I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Well, what's like the overarching plot?" And I was like, "I think there was like a future race came down to like monkeys and gave them like the power of humans and with like a golden apple." I was like, "Oh, I have played every single one of these games, and I don't think anything stuck on me." Like I remember characters that I remember really liking, like Ezio and his trilogy, and liking Seafaring and AC4 and stuff like that.
Yeah, like after they closed Desmond's loop, it has felt a little lost in that regard. They've always maintained the Animus trappings. Yeah. But I don't know, like maybe that's something that's due for a comeback. Like I've not played a ton of Shadows yet.
Shadows even introduces. Granted, I have not played a bunch of Valhalla, but when you open Shadows, you get a list.
Oh, like the little like a launcher,
all the different time periods. Yeah, and it's like I think that menu is actually really cool. I think it's cool too, and I think it's like it's an in-universe launcher to where it's like, oh, do you want to go to this time period in ancient Greece and experience the life of whoever the main character of Odyssey was, or Bayek in ancient Egypt, or Ivor in Valhalla and stuff. So I'm curious. One thing I'm curious is just to play more to see like what. So far, I haven't been like a person yet in the meta world, modern day. And I don't know if I am going to be a person, but yeah. that's for later. Far Too Many Frogs, tying a bow on the adaptation thing. Thank you so much, Far Too Many Frogs. Said, I've always wondered why showrunners refuse to play games. You saw this with Halo, saw this with The Witcher, and Henry Cavill was a saving grace there. Is there some deep-seated disdain for video games, or is it envy or doubt, or is it that that this is consistent across people trying and failing to adapt stuff from other mediums? I mentioned the Tony Gilroy thing with Andor in Star Wars, he's said he was not a huge Star Wars fan to begin with. An acquaintance of mine is writing a writer on the new Harry Potter show for HBO, and that he did not read Harry Potter until he got the job. Which is like, wow, incredible writer, but like then was like, oh, I guess like, it's better.
I mean, arguably the ability to make a good TV show or write a good script supersedes like whether you're a fan of whatever the thing is, because that can come later. Like,
yeah, and in the time since then, he's like read each book 7 times. In the times and a thing like that, you have people in the room who are encyclopedias of the thing, right? So it's like it's not like everyone's in the dark. Like there are people who are like, I will tell you what that quote was on what page and tell you, what flavor of fucking butterbean. I don't know. Butterbean was a big fat guy who's the boxer.
Butter beer.
Butterbeer, yeah.
There are multiple flavors. And then I was
thinking Birdie bots every flavored beans.
Those
like the jelly beans that taste like puke
throw
or whatever.
Up and yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. I don't know where I was going with that, but there you go. Denmark.
But just on the like, it's possible that some of these people they just aren't gamers.
Yeah.
And so like we, especially us in our audience as people who have grown up playing games for years, probably take for granted how difficult it is to kind of just freshly go in and just experience a video game.
Yeah.
Like that's actually pretty difficult and complicated for some people, especially older people. So if you work in an industry your whole life doing a thing, and now you got to adapt a video game, it's like, well, I don't know how to speak this language.
I mean, games are active. Like I could sit my mom in front of a TV and be like, "Here's Severance." She could watch Severance, but if I sat my mom in front of a TV and was like, "Here's the Stanley Parable," yeah, I don't think she'd fucking get that. Yeah, but at the same time, like I also want to make sure I'm not saying that like being a fan isn't important or being a fan means you can't make something, because that Adi Shankar is like a huge fucking fan of everything he makes. And I'm really fucking excited for his Devil May Cry. And then at the same time, the Craig Mazin, the guy who is the showrunner of The Last of Us, is a giant Last of Us fan.
Big fan of The Last of Us.
Yeah, and that's probably my favorite video game adaptation. So there you go. Chris Pratt, obviously a big Mario fan. I feel like Jack Black is a big Bowser fan. I feel like Jack Black was a Bowser guy.
But they were just actors though, right? They didn't have anything to do with the storyline. They just got hired to do the job.
Yeah, it was
right?
a bunch of French dudes who did
it. Was
Illumination, right?
It was Illumination, but they had writers from something. Crap.
Blossom.
Blossom.
Remember Blossom? Young Sheldon. I know the guy who's directing Zelda, theoretically. I don't know. Things change. Is the guy who directed the most recent Planet of the Apes movie. And he did a couple Maze Runners as well. I don't know if you remember the Maze Runners.
Yeah, that was like post
the Scorch Trials. Yeah, that was when everyone was like, we got our own Hunger Games. And
we need
we're good.
Adult,
here's Divergent. No, thank you. Denmark, thank you so much for re-upping in the tip jar. Appreciate you. Denmark threatened to fight me today in Discord because I put words in his mouth about Persona 3. So that's where we're at right now with Denmark. Thin ice.
Denmark,
I mean, technically, I did. Denmark, listen, find someone who loves you as much as Denmark loves Persona 3. Not the remake, though. Eric, been an ad-free for a year. Well, it says a year, and it also says 16 months for me, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But then it says, plot twist, God of War on Amazon is the story of a very angry dad with dementia, which started seeing people on the streets as gods. And he's very angry. I think he's lying. But I feel like that would be a bridge too far with me if like the story was like a meta.
Like it was like set in modern day. something.
Yeah,
And
if like he had his animus and was like, I could become a different God of War. Like, I don't want that in God of War. I want a man named Kratos.
yeah, but that also just sounds bad, right? Like that sounds like a like a bad premise.
But it also sounds like something that would happen, which makes me all the more worried.
Well, okay, because this has happened before as well, right? Like, what if there's an adaptation that shares the name? It is completely different
Like
to the thing it shares the name with,
movie?
but is really good. Like, people like what this different thing
Oh.
is. Like, do people take issue with that because it's so different still? Do
good.
we have examples of that sort of thing happening?
Yeah. I guess the original Mario movie. Some people really like the original Mario movie, even though it has nothing to do with.
They don't like it because it's good though. They like it because it's bad.
Look at that guy. Look at this little guy. He looks so happy. He looks so happy. Secret Level Pac-Man? Tyrell says?
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good adaptation. Like a complete reimagining of a thing. Though they did not have a ton to work with, so that feels like a little like cheating.
Yeah. The League of Legends, Arcane is great, but it feels like it's also... Like, they're not going crazy. Like, they're taking the characters from League of Legends and giving them the backstory that makes sense. So, like, I don't think...
Is it not the backstory in the games?
I mean, do you get, like, what is the backstory in the games? Like,
I don't know.
I don't think there's not, like, cutscenes in League of Legends, right? It's just, like, audio logs.
It's not even audio logs, right? Like, I would imagine, like,
lore book?
they have, like character sheets and...
Yeah, but it's not like people didn't know what was going to happen in Arcane Season 2 before Arcane Season 2. It's not like they know, oh, Jinx is going to die and V is going to marry this person. Like, they didn't know that because of, like, the lore of the characters. Whereas, like, Last of Us Season 2, everyone's like, oh, wait till you see the episode where this happens. Yeah. I don't know whose voice that was. I'm sorry. S6 with $5 Thank you so much, S6. Without thinking or qualification, best TV to game best game to TV adaptation. Go. And then in parentheses, minus Castlevania. I bet what you pick was made or show run by fans of the game.
For me to say best game to TV adaptation outside of Castlevania?
Yeah, for me would be Cyberpunk, Arcane, or Last of Us, probably. Right.
Oh, but that doesn't really count. It was a hodgepodge. Because I was thinking of Far Cry Blood Dragon. It's not Far Cry. It's not called Far Cry. It's just called Blood Dragon, right?
Yeah, because I think they sort of are like transcended the Blood Dragon.
Because it's just a bunch of Ubisoft stuff in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not Shankar, so that's probably
Yeah, I think all of our examples were people who really like it. I guess my one big example of someone who didn't like a thing and made something really good was Andor, which is Star Wars, which isn't a video game. I was gonna say, which isn't really
someone who
game.
didn't get a thing, Zack Snyder, who didn't understand how satirical the Watchmen were, and made a movie that was good. Like, Watchmen is a good movie. It just flies in the face of what the graphic novel was.
Yeah. Look at that big Speedo he's got. How can that? Just big weird underwear hanging out with his friends in front of Nixon. And then S6 also with another 10 Australians. Thank you so much. Follow up as I realized my point could be lost in translation. The Castlevania showrunner. Oh, I didn't realize this. The Castlevania showrunner had never played the games, but if you are a gaming fan like you, gents, you're probably already drawn to TV close to the games. I like that. From what I've seen of Castlevania, I love the Castlevania, and I haven't seen Nocturne yet, which is you said was really good, right?
Yeah, and they take liberties. Like, they absolutely veer off into their own stuff in Nocturne in particular, and like it all lands. So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing with me is like there are certain games where it's like this is the story we want to see. We want to see The Last of Us, the story of The Last of Us. If someone was like Halo, I'm like the story of what in Halo? Like, no Halo game feels like a direct thing that easily makes sense in a movie. Metal Gear Solid makes sense as a movie. I don't think Halo does. Like, doing something with Halo makes sense, but the same thing Castlevania. Like, I love the 2D Castlevania games. I don't want a Symphony of the Night movie. Just, like, fucking do something with all these characters and stuff. Like,
okay, so you're saying, like, tell a story within those franchises as opposed to, like retell the story of the specific game.
Yeah, most of the games, I don't know. Most game stories are kind of silly to me. So like, just
no, that is very true.
Yeah.
But like, they just give you like good. They give you good frameworks to build from, right?
Yeah, and like what a character is like, that kind of thing. Like you can really get like, I want my Master Chief to feel like the Master Chief from the games. I want if they make Gears of War, they've been doing something in production forever. Like if Dave Bautista were to play Marcus Phoenix, I want him to sort of feel like the Marcus Phoenix we get from.
Is it too late?
John DiMaggio? Joe DiMaggio?
Joe DiMaggio. No, John DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio is a baseball player.
The baseball player who had sex with Marilyn Monroe. And also voiced Jake the dog.
Razor Hell.
Yeah, I mean Batista could play this version of Marcus.
Oh yeah, older Marcus, sure.
Marcus, yeah.
But we don't want to see Marcus's kids running around.
I wanted in the game.
What's his name? JD.
JD. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody cares about that guy. Kate,
JD,
Kat?
Dez, and Kat.
I don't know. No one cares about them. Give me Marcus and Dom and Coltrane and Baird.
And one or two of them need their wives to die in front of them, so it's very sad for everyone. I do want Coltrane. Wasn't Drake originally going to be?
What?
Back in the day? Ooh, was Drake was going to be in Gears of War? Drake Gears of War. What was that? Where did that come from? Drake was going to be the voice of Jace Stratton in Gears of War 3 before he had to back out.
Oh, who the hell is Jace
For
Stratton?
scheduling conflict. I don't know. I clicked it and it sent me to
side character.
It sent me. I clicked it and then it sent me to the Assassin's Creed Shadows official website because an ad popped up. We're just never gonna know who was that character. And then Sussy Guru, thank you so much for a 10-euro dono. There was an Elders React episode, which is I'm assuming
a YouTube series, right?
Yeah. There's like everyone
teens react, like millennials react, stuff like that.
Yeah, chefs react. Where they made the seniors play video games. A lot of them spend half the time staring at the ground because they couldn't get used to even basic controls. It's weird. Like, we take it for granted. It's weird. Mouse and keyboard is weird. Dual analog sticks are weird. Like,
it's
I think that's kind of why Wii Sports worked. That's why people know touchpads and stuff, because it's just fucking touch a thing.
Big reason why mobile takes off. Like literal babies will understand how to play mobile games because they just touch the screen. Like, it just makes immediate sense in a way that controllers do not.
Yeah, literal babies love mouse and keyboard because it's a bad way to play games. A couple questions came in that were not necessarily directed to a single topic. I want to say it before we were talking about what we've been playing. Mm-hmm. Please help. That was the person in the Patreon. That wasn't like a me cry for help. Their name is Please Help PLZ. Thank you so much at the $5 tier and above. Would be curious to hear how you guys combat burnout and keep up a passion for gaming while having to do it as a job. Cut to the montage of jokes lately on Windbreaker about monetizing hobbies as Yahtzee has taken up baking. Working as a mechanic has pretty much killed my enthusiasm for cars, and it's only coming back since changing careers and leaving the industry. Are you just genuinely that into games, or did at some point it start to feel more like a grind? Any wisdom is appreciated. How have you dealt with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like burnout is a real thing, but it's quite possible that I have an unhealthily high tolerance for this sort of work, because I do love it. Like, I like to do it, and like when there are other things stressing me out in life, oftentimes I will go to video games, which also doubles as my job, to put my mind at ease, to like focus on something else. So it's really hard to say. Yeah, I don't know if I can say, like, I definitely burn out in terms of like physically. Like, I'll get tired of like doing stuff constantly and will need to like nap. But like, I don't know. Yeah, like for me, like maybe like a certain genre is more likely for me to be like, all right, well, I'm a little off of this sort of game now. Let me try something a lot different, but it's still a game, right? I'm still interacting with a form of media, so getting a story or whatnot. And games are diverse enough for that to happen. In other like hobbies or careers or whatnot, like if you love cars and work on cars, I'm wondering, like, how could you differentiate what you're doing with cars to like, if you work on cars and you're fussing about like the internals, what if you went to a go-kart track? Like, is that close enough? Like, is that a thing that you would find fun to like maybe differentiate?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, it's a tough one.
Yeah. Or if you played a really simmy car game, like if you played a Gran Turismo to where you could really futz around with cars, like would that feel like Burnout still, or would that be like, you know, it's a
but that's like really close to what they're doing and getting burnt out on, right? He said they had to leave the mechanic.
Yeah, but there's
industry.
like the job, like people like those kind of like dad games, right? Of like,
yeah,
I guess you're not directly doing what you do as a job. You're not like farmers aren't playing Stardew Valley, right?
yeah, yeah. At least I don't think so. Like trucker or no, wasn't that a thing? Truckers would go home and then play Trucking Simulator.
That's really sad. I don't want to tell anyone how to spend your time, but what's going on there?
I agree. I think that would be a bit much.
Is that Trucking Simulator, or are those just trucks? Oh, they're gone.
There's no way to know.
There's really no way to know. Yeah, I definitely do get burnt out at times. I get burnt out on genres, like Casey said. There'll be certain times where I'm like, oh, I can't fucking do another a Metroidvania, or I can't do another open world game. And then, like, I think the last Far Cry came around at a time when I was like, I've played too many open world games. It came around, and I'm like, I just can't do it. And then I'm like, I'm just never gonna play you. Whereas like Assassin's Creed Shadows come around, and I'm like, oh, I haven't really done one of these in a little while. And looking at what's coming out next month and the next month, I'm not gonna really do another one of these then. So like maybe this was a perfect time,
right, for
a thing like this. Yeah. I tend to, if I ever get like burnt out on games, I usually fall back and I like replay something I really like. Like, I don't know, I replayed Chrono Trigger the last 2 weeks, and I was like, damn, this game's really fucking good. Like, I don't know. So, but that just might be me. I think a lot of people don't want to waste their precious time on this Mortal Coil, replaying things they've already played. And then I'm going to jump to too many spreadsheets before we get into what we've been playing, which kind of ties into what I've been playing. Said I'm almost done with Wander Stop, and I found it really interesting how the mechanics are often intentionally tedious and slow. Death Stranding often felt the same to me, and I've enjoyed how both games use that part as the story experience. Are there any games you've played that have intentionally, quote unquote, bad mechanics to serve the overall experience of the game in effective ways? Do you think, like, can a thing be bad or boring or obtuse in an effective way?
Absolutely. Like this is something that is difficult to do, I'll say. But when you nail it, like it works. And like we were talking about Hazelight, this is what Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is. Like it's a game, first off, that hooks you with an interesting premise. Oh, you control two characters on the same controller with opposite thumbsticks. But that gimmick runs thin fairly quickly in terms of gameplay.
Yeah.
Like you end up not doing things that are all that interesting or complicated, but that's kind of not the point of the game. That stuff is busy work to get you accustomed to the narrative beats that they're taking you through until they do their big sort of twist that plays on the fact that you've been controlling the game this way the whole time. And that part is brilliant. Like that part is one of like the best uses of just video game mechanics to aid storytelling that like I've ever played. And I bring it up all the goddamn time. For that reason. But like as a video game mechanically, like it's really not doing all that much.
Yeah, but you kind of need to get lulled into that sense in order for it to like really, really be effective. There's I absolutely think this is a thing, and I think Wander Stop's an interesting game to bring up because when Jack played an hour or two and was like, "This is so fucking boring. I can't stand this game. I genuinely hate this game." And then Yahtzee played an hour, and I think him and I had more fun. Then I saw Yahtzee was playing it this afternoon again, so he's giving it more time. He's playing it off stream, but it is a game to where it has that thing where I'm like, you kind of like. You can't judge it by its first hour, and like I hate saying that because you could judge anything by its first hour. Like, that's how, if it's a 10-hour game, you're judging the first 10%, which is fine to say the first 10% doesn't work for me. But once I got to the like a thing that kind of turned a corner, and it's not like the game completely changes, but it reframes what came before it and made me think like, oh, this is why the game is this way, and this is why it is kind of tedious and monotonous to make tea and to run this shop, is so that it could build a base so that I do feel this way when this thing happens. And I think Death Stranding is another good example. And I know you have said, didn't you try to get into Death Stranding? And you were like, what's going on here?
No, I wanted to, but I watched Jack play it and was like, no thanks.
That was it. God, I can't imagine Jack playing Death Stranding. Oh my God.
But I do understand that, like, the sort of we need to lull you into a false sense of security, or we need to literally bore you. Like, I think that was something that both Jesse and Yahtzee said of that game, The Crush House.
Oh yeah,
that like the gameplay forces you to like get upset with it so that you don't do what the game is asking you to do, and then that's actually what the game wants you to do.
yeah.
So like stuff like that is clever.
Yeah, and there's really no like, there's no analog to that in like movies and TV, right? Like, there's no like, is there?
Well, do you remember the Will Smith movie 7 Pounds?
Yes. Yeah, but
that movie is incredibly obtuse and generally boring until the reveal. Until you realize what has been happening, then it all kind of clicks in a way that goes, oh shit, and then it's kind of worth it. So like, again, like, I think it's a tougher thing to do, and maybe it doesn't hit as hard when you're a passive observer, because you can really just tune out entirely. But in a game, since you have to push things forward, that feels a lot more personal, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I do think, yes, cinema and TV and movies and stuff, they can try this sort of thing.
Where something ties together at the end and reframes everything that came before it.
Right.
Yeah, not even necessarily in a twist, like The Sixth Sense is different if you watch it a second time because you know what's going on. But yeah,
right.
I guess there's also aesthetics. Someone, I think I lost the chat. Someone brought up about, Too Many Spreadsheets said there are games, movies and shows that I think are ugly on purpose. There are games that are ugly on, like Cruelty Squad or something like that is like garish on purpose to, something like Arctic Eggs in order to elicit a feeling from the audience. Cool. Oh my God. You want to get to what we've been playing? / watching? You've been watching.
Oh yeah. I have been watching. I'm watching a show it's on Netflix. I don't know if it was originally on Netflix. It might have been. It might be a Netflix original. Called Mo.
Eric just pulled up Mo. How did you know he wasn't going to talk about In Death Unchained?
Because we talked about watching, I guess.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
He had like a millisecond to do it, so that was enough time for Eric. But yeah, this is a series. It's, I believe, Muhammad Amr, I think, or Amir is how you say his last name. He's a Palestinian stand-up comic. And I first saw him on the show Rami Youssef.
Okay, that's where I recognize him from.
Yeah, he was like the best friend on that show, and I love that show.
Yeah, same.
And so like it was like years ago, I saw that Mo had like his own series and wanted to get to it, and finally did. And it's kind of, I don't know how close to real life it is, but it is based on like real events that have happened to him, because he came to America as an asylum seeking refugee. Like he left Palestine as a child, and then grew up in Houston, Texas, seeking asylum. And for 22 years in the show, he still hasn't gotten it. Him, his mom, and his brother, because of just various bullshit, nonsensical reasons. And so he's kind of like dicking around, like
go somewhere else.
I mean, that's where they were. I don't know. But like it's one of those comedies that is also a dramedy, I suppose they call them. But like its claim to fame is it has a lot of really good dialogue moments. Like Mo is the character Mo is just really personable. Like he's like a natural salesman. And so like he has all these odd jobs because he doesn't have documentation. So he has to like figure out where he can make money for his family and stuff. So like he'll work at a friend's store under the table, or like go do work for a farmer, like with other like migrant workers and stuff like that. Or he'll sell like bootleg stuff out of his car, but like he just talks his way into all sorts of situations, and he'll just talk to random people and like learn about their lives and tell them about him. And like it's like the opposite, but on the same side of the coin for like Tarantino films, where it's like, oh, just this back and forth between these two characters is fascinating.
Yeah.
But when that stuff is like usually like terse or like aggressive, oftentimes most conversations with these strangers is like kind of heartwarming a lot of times. That isn't to say that there isn't tension, because there are like he has an anger issue and he has an issue of putting his foot in his mouth. And it's this trope that I've seen in a couple of shows now where the main character just for the life of them cannot seem to get out of their own way. Mm-hmm. Like things would just work out the way he's hoping for and have been praying for if he would just take a step back and stop trying to make the thing happen. And like it's in a way, it's like you're rooting for him, but you're also like, just shut the F up. Like, just stop. Yeah. But like, it's fascinating. Like,
which is very realistic. Like,
yes,
I had some pals who were like that. Where I'm like, oh, if you just like your heart's in the right place, just shut the fuck up, and everything will be fine. Yeah.
So like, it's really good 2-season series. I think the story is done after the second season.
That's what it looks like. It was co-created by Rami.
Rami, yeah, he's also a co-creator as well.
That's great.
Toby Wigwe, a Nigerian rapper who's big in Houston, is a star in the show. I'm assuming just because it takes place in Houston, he's like a big deal over there, that he somehow got the call. Like maybe he and Muhammad just know each other or whatever. Yeah. But him and his wife are in the show as characters, and like he's really good. Like he's really funny as well. It's just really good. Like I don't want to like give too much of the plot away, but like it's based on real events, even though some of that stuff is like very ridiculous, but like it's not a complete fantasy, the sort of bullshit that he has to put up with.
Are they like 30-minute episodes, hour-long episodes?
Yeah, like 30 minutes a piece.
Okay, so the comedy
like
thing.
10 or so episodes each season, I think.
Great.
So it was a pretty quick watch. I think I got done with it within a week.
This sounds great. I'm adding it to my list after the sad British murder show that everyone's talking about now. Have you heard about this? The big Netflix show that's coming up, Adolescence?
Oh, I have heard about. Okay,
yeah, I think everyone's heard. Like this thing has just fucking blown up the last couple days. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll watch the sad kids murdering each other, whatever it's about. I did watch a behind the scenes of a single oneer in that show, and I'm like, this is some insane filmmaking going on.
Huh?
Like halfway through a oneer, attaching the camera to a drone. I'm like, okay,
that's cool. Kind of sick.
I can get behind this.
Yeah, maybe I need to check this out.
Yeah. What else? What else have you been playing / watching?
I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I went back to F-Zero X. Like in order to play through Metroid
Fusion.
I finally signed up for the expansion pass, and then was reminded, like, oh yeah, this also includes N64 stuff. What do they have in that library? F-Zero X. This is one of my favorite games ever. Immediately jumped in there and got hooked. Like played like 2-3 hours of just doing Grand Prix. That's a great game. I cannot wait for them to just bring that back. And I have a hostile relationship with the NES or just 2D versions of F-Zero. Like that's not the F-Zero I want.
I agree. Like the original F-Zero for Super Nintendo was one of the first games my parents got us with. They got us Super Nintendo with Mario, which I'm like, this is the greatest game of all time, Mario World. And then F-Zero, and I'm like, what is this? Soundtrack is very cool. I don't like any of this. And then I played F-Zero for N64, and I'm like, no, this is what I want from this game.
Yeah, it's so goddamn good.
Yeah.
So yeah, been messing around with that. But I got this weird craving some time ago to just I'm a big fan of archery, and like I've gone to an actual archery range in the past, but my attempts to go back and like make that a regular thing have fallen flat because like it's either never open or like it's got weird hours. It's like dumb far. And I do intend at some point, like if I can get a new house, I want a big ass backyard so I can put archery shit in there, just buy bows and arrows. Cool. So in the meantime, like, are there good VR archery games? Because I know archery is a big thing in VR. So I had to I did a big search. Was like, oh, this game In Death is a really good VR game, and Unchained is like the specific MetaQuest version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a roguelike archery game that is honestly very, very well built.
Okay.
Like it puts you in like these sort of like heaven and hell themed areas with like zombies and knights like not charging your position, but like they'll either be at a distance or like they'll slowly approach you, and you have opportunities to deal with them. You have I really like how they split all your actions with the controllers, in that if you hold the 2 face buttons and pull back on the bow, that's a light arrow that will teleport you, so you can shoot to go to like move around the arena.
Yeah.
But then if you hold the trigger and pull back the bow, that's a regular arrow that you can like hit enemies with. You can also hold like the little side button with your fingers, and it's like a teleport shard. Like I don't know where this stuff comes from, but like you just get a thing in your hand, and if you just toss that to the side, it's like a dodge. So like if you don't want to like knock a whole arrow, you can very quickly just kind of throw your hand to a direction to like just move out of the way of like an attack or a arrow or something coming your way. And like you can like using the other button on the opposite stick, you can like change arrow types. So like you have pickups like fire arrows or whatnot. And it just it feels like it's very immersive in that like the areas aren't so detailed or so pixelated or whatever that it distracts. Oh, there's also like a shield, if you can see it on screen. Like
holding that up.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you just like summon to your hand as something's coming to you, and it has like a nice satisfying like thunk when arrows like hit.
I like that.
So it's like a real fast reaction. Oh, something's coming at my face. Boom, like this. Like it just feels fun. It's fun. Like, so it's giving me that it's scratching that itch of like, oh, I'm an archer, even though it's not at all like the sense of holding the bow. Because one thing that
go ahead. From them, do you?
Like, the controllers do rumble. So like you get like
they rumble, but
feel
you
like
don't
the
get
thing.
You don't get tension, obviously.
No,
of pulling like the thing back, like which you get a little bit in like haptic triggers, to where it's like, ooh, I'm holding a thing down, and it's a little harder to pull it down. I don't know how you would do. I guess you would need like a shitty.
You would need like a toy bow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But my like there's a lot in there in terms of modes and stuff. But like my biggest complaint is that it feels a little imprecise when you're aiming. And I don't know if it's because like it's VR, like my hand is shaky or something. Sure. I don't have the actual bow to like rest against my chest or something like that. Yeah. But it's like I'll feel like I'm in the exact same position and shoot 2 arrows trying to like train my aim on what I'm shooting at, and I feel like they'll sometimes just go wild in wildly different directions.
Yeah.
And that can kind of take me out of it. Like I'll feel like, oh, this doesn't work. This isn't working. And that happens enough.
Like it is like the best like alternative. Like you really, other than doing it in real life. Like it sounds like it's the next best thing.
Yeah, and I am having fun with it. And it does get you goddamn tired. Like that's one thing about VR. Like it
gets your workout on a rainy day. Yeah.
Yeah, this is mostly the arms though.
Yeah. You also then watch like Lord of the Rings and you're like, you guys should be so tired. Like, you've done so much fighting. This seems so you're running so much, you're running upstairs. Oh.
Yeah, those guys are fit.
They are fit, especially Gimli, son of Gloin. I don't know if his dad was named Gloin. I think his dad might have been named Gloin.
I would believe it if it was.
Classic Gloin. You been playing any other VR stuff? You can play the VR Batman game? I want someone to tell me about that Batman game.
I looked for that. I don't think that's on MetaQuest 2. I could be wrong.
Oh,
because I have the second one.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But yeah, like there's a boxing game that I play. I think I talked about it before. Thrill of the Fight, and that one, sweating.
Yeah, you got a lot of sweat 'em ups over there.
Yeah, like it's not a good feeling to sweat in a VR headset. So I don't know how to combat that. Like I would play more of that game if I didn't end up sweating the way I do after playing that boxing game.
Sure. That's funny. Anything else? Playing, watching?
No, don't think so. What about you?
Cool. Yeah, the 2 big things I mentioned earlier. Split Fiction. I wrapped up. Yahtzee and I played through it for his Fully Ramblomatic, which will be in I think 2 weeks. Assassin's Creed's next week, and then this will be the following week. I won't tell you anything about how he thought about it, but my thoughts were I thought the story was, I mentioned earlier, the story was like really weak and forgettable and kind of like probably 40 minutes into the game, I was like, I bet these are what the big beats of the game and this is how it's going to end are. And that's exactly like story-wise how it happened. Like there is no surprises, nothing interesting. I thought at least the kind of marriage on the rocks dynamic of It Takes Two.
Right, I was going to ask if you
unique.
felt better about the It Takes Two story.
I think I did feel better about It Takes Two, whereas this is just two aspiring writers who are very different. One is British and grew up on a farm, and one's American. She's led a hard life, and she doesn't like opening herself up. But the British one loves talking about it's that, and it's just like, okay, you're gonna soften, you're gonna kind of harden, you guys are gonna meet in the middle. You both had trauma, like that kind of stuff. But like that's not what I was there for. I was there for the genius sort of gameplay ideas and constant switching of how we think and interact with the game and our co-op partners, and the game absolutely delivered that. Just as much, if not more so, than It Takes Two. Every half hour I was like, oh, that's a really clever thing to introduce, and and every mechanic feels fully formed, and then it's just gone from the game, which is baffling. Like that is not how game design works. But I was
running
just in really, really great ways. It's really smart in how it'll, have segments where the two of you are in the same space, but you have different abilities you're using to complement each other. Times where you guys are in two different spaces doing your own thing, and then you converge back together. And then times where you play completely different, and it'll be like you're literally viewing the game from different points of view, and you need to talk to each other to be like, oh, I see this thing that you can't see, so you're able to do this now, and I'm able to do something that you can't do. I also will say, without spoiling anything, the last hour of the game this has to be the stuff they did last, because it is insane, like the ideas they throw in the last hour. So I always hate to be like, see it through to the end, but if you're playing it and you're kind of waffling, I think it is worth seeing it through the end, because there is some shit they were doing in the last 45 minutes or an hour where I'm like, oh, this is like really fucking clever. Like the best ideas I think are in the last 45 minutes or an hour. Not that the ideas are bad beforehand, and it's also nice.
It ramps up, which is good.
Yeah, and it's I think it's 9 hours. Maybe it took us. I think a 3-hour session, a 4-hour session, and a 2-hour session. I think it's 9. I don't know how hours work.
Yeah, I don't do math.
It's my 40. Contract. There's no way to know. So yeah, definitely I recommend Split Fiction. And again, it's nice because if you buy a copy of it, you can gift out a second code to the person you want to play with for free, and it doesn't matter what platform they're on. I was playing on Xbox, Yahtzee was playing on Steam, and it worked out just fine for us.
Great. This seemed like such a direct, Hazelight has always had a theme where like there's duality in the stuff that they make. But this one is the first one that seems like a direct sort of, even though it's not, like it's a spiritual successor of anything, but it's like, it feels very much like It Takes Two.
Yes.
Is it possible that this is what they do now? Like, is their third game going to be another one of these?
That's a great question, because obviously Brothers, which we mentioned earlier, is a solo co-op game where you're playing by yourself, but it is co-op. A Way Out felt very different, than these two, whereas these two very much seem of a pair. I don't know. They're really good at making these, so if they put out another one in 4 years, I wouldn't be mad. But at the same time, I would be curious to take these thoughts and ideas and channel them into a single-player game, which I know Joseph Fares has wanted to make for a while. So I'd be curious to see their mindset in a single-player game. That said, I do feel like the writing of the story might need to be like less cliche. Like,
because that was also a complaint of A Way Out.
Yeah,
was that the writing in that was pretty, like, folks could see what was happening.
Yeah,
in terms of the twist, and like was also kind of just bland. But it was kind of the novelty of the fact that you had to do everything on the same screen with the other person that was.
And the novelty works. It does work for all three of those games. But yeah, I'd be curious to see what it would work like in a single player capacity. And then the other big game, which I streamed 2 hours of earlier today with Jack and Jess, was Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I'm about 8 or 9 hours into now. Still very early on, because the way I play those games is they're like, here, once the world opens up, they're like, here's your main quest. I'm like, well, what about everything else? But what about, there's so much in Japan that is in a fog of war. What if I climb every hill I can? And so I've been very slowly making my way through the main quest, but I've found all of the side stuff to be really engaging, both in terms of, this is just a really fucking gorgeous world. And I think one of the main things that's really sitting with me is how naturalistic it is, like how much nature plays a role in this game, just because by the just how Japan was at the time, it's not like there's these giant massive cities and like, you know, the urban sprawl between things. Like, it is pretty much like small settlements and then a bunch of forests and mountains and whatnot in between them. And I really do feel like just wandering the countryside is like a really nice bit of virtual tourism that I really like. And I liked it in Ghost of Tsushima. I like it in this. I'm kind of an easy mark for that. I think their weather system and their lighting system is really good. Their season system is interesting, to where it'll, you know, after certain fast travels and story points, it'll change seasons. So it'll go, you know, the same map, it plays differently in winter, spring, summer, and fall. So like a rice paddy might be sort of covered in water in the rainy season. In the spring, in the summer, it might be full of people working the fields. In the fall, it might be dry and easy to run across. And in the winter, it is filled with snow, and you kind of trudge through it unless you're on the path. So like small things like that, a single area can feel very different depending on when you're doing it. And I've seen some clips of like a character standing, or, you know, perched on top of one of those eagle perches where, you know, you get the nice view and everything, and a snowstorm comes in, and like the real-time weather seems like, I don't know a lot of games that do real-time weather like that. So I'm interested to get further in where more of that stuff comes out. The combat's been fine with me. The interesting thing is, right at the beginning, it introduces you to, obviously, the dual protagonists has been a big thing the whole time. In the first hour or 90 minutes, like prologue, it introduces you to Yasuke and Naoe, who are the two characters, and then Yasuke goes away. And I have not played as Yasuke yet. Again, 8 hours into the game, other than the 30.
I feel like I've heard that from someone else. That like,
yeah. And apparently, if you mainline the main quest, you can get back to him and then get to the point where it's like, oh, now you can toggle.
Right.
But by the way I play these games, I'm not doing that. So I'm not minding playing as Naoe, and I like it, and I think she's a cool character. I think she's like just acrobatic in a way that very few assassins have been. And, you know, right off the bat, we've sort of talked about, she has kind of a Kill Bill thing of, oh, she watches her, well, this isn't Kill Bill, but she watches her mentor die and then knows the 9 people who did it, and like is like, these are the fucking 9 people I'm gonna go get. And the whole game is about tracking them down and you know, taking them out in a specific order. And so I'm in it for her journey, but I am like, well, where did he go? Because I like,
like what's going on with this situation right here?
Like, and I get it's my fault, but it's also the game's fault for not, you know, you gave me this world to run around, and
they could have wrapped up because like they give you exposition in the beginning with like bits of gameplay to introduce you to the characters and what they do and how they're different. But then, before you get the ability to just go back and forth, they do let you just do what you want.
Yeah. And encourage you to, like, that's these games, like, so it's a weird thing to complain about, but I'm like, am I going to get to a point where I'm going to get back to Yasuke and I'm like, what was your deal? Like, who? You do speak Japanese. I remember that from the intro. You speak Japanese. Your masters didn't realize that. They're assholes.
Are you taking advantage of the canon mode or the immersive mode, like these different ways that you can play through the? Yeah,
no, I'm not. I'm making the choices myself.
Okay.
If a game lets me make choices, I want to make choices, which is an interesting thing. There's a way you could play canon mode where there's no branching dialogue or anything, and you are playing the game the way if they ever make DLC or a sequel, it will reference this is what the characters did at these moments. But I like making the decisions myself. And
Yeah.
so, you
Why
know,
not?
it's I don't think you can like there's not gonna be like, you know, light and dark versions of the characters or anything. Like I don't think you're gonna have one where it's like, oh, he's a child killer or something. Like, you know, I don't think it's gonna be anything that nuts. But yeah, I also don't like particularly care about the like canon story. I don't remember these stories again, like to the next one. So if the next Assassin's Creed comes out, the Hexa or whatever comes out in 4 years, and you know there's a reference to this game, I won't remember if I did or didn't say something as Yosuke. So
Yeah.
yeah, enjoying it so far. As in terms of just like I said, I think it has come around at a pretty good time in terms of me wanting a game like this. There's no like one thing it does that is blowing me away, and I do still think I think there's gonna be a lot of comps to Ghost of Tsushima, and I think what Sony does with sort of obviously Tsushima wouldn't exist without Assassin's Creed. It's kind of built on that formula.
It did borrow a lot.
Yeah, but it also does the sort of, okay, we're only going to have a handful of side quests, but they're going to be like stories like that you're going to want to do, and they're going to have payoff. Whereas this is still a lot of, I did this side quest and the payoff isn't story. It's, oh, here's a bunch of materials that you can use back at your homestead to build a new ranch and upgrade your armory and that kind of stuff, which is cool. But that feeds more into like the Ubisoft loop than the Sony, you know, kind of wanting to see the story to the end. So, yeah, I think people who dug this still feels like RPG Assassin's Creed, not to the extent that Odyssey and Valhalla did. It feels a little pared back. This reminds me more of Origins, honestly. Very manageable RPG stuff. And less kind of eye-rolly stat minutia, like plus 2% to poison build-up or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm gonna keep playing it, and I'm definitely excited to get back to Yasuke, so I can kind of oscillate between the two of them. You know, one sort of stealthy shinobi, and one let's fucking break this door down and start beating people with a hammer.
Yeah, this is the first Assassin's Creed in the RPG era that I've played. Like I just never got around to the other ones because I've been so afraid of the time sink, honestly.
Sure. Yeah, and especially, you know, it is tough that this can't, you know, I think it's far enough away from like a Monster Hunter to where the people, it seems like the Monster Hunter crazies like put in their 100 hours and are now like, where's my more?
Yeah,
there's more of my games. So.
There's time in between them. Because they probably would have burnt out on Monster Hunter. And can give this some time before going back with whatever the next update is.
Yeah, I guess
it was a really good window, actually. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, I always underestimate how quickly people will burn through a game. Like people are like, oh, Kingdom Come Deliverance is hundreds of hours, and I don't hear anyone talking about it anymore. And not like a bad way, but it just feels like the people who are obsessed with it did it all. And then obviously people will continue to glom onto it throughout the years. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. And then really quick, Gay Bear Daddy 2 over in the Patreon did mention, are either of you Xenoblade people? And if so, are you thinking about trying Xenoblade X, which released today? And I mentioned earlier, I bought it. I'm going to. My whole thought, though, I was telling Casey was trying to talk me off this ledge, but I'm just like, well, if I do these, I need to go back and play Chronicles. But if I do Chronicles, what if I went back and played Saga? Cosmos is there. You remember Cosmos?
No, I have no idea.
KOSMOS. She was like a robot with blue hair.
Nope.
No,
not a little
blue-haired robot. But Eric, you've been playing. Eric, can you do you have a quick review of Xenoblade Chronicles X? You pro?
It came out today. You have a. Did you play it?
Did you play the game on Wii U? I hear you. You sound great. Oops. Oh my god, I fucked everything up. I'm sorry, Eric. I didn't want to put you in the spot.
Eric's trying to get his mic working on OBS.
Oops. Oops. We need you.
So what game are we looking at right now? Is this Xenoblade or is this Monster Hunter?
It's gotta be Xenoblade.
Perfect. My mic is working now. This is Xenoblade Chronicles X. I know a lot of people know about this game because the Wii U was such a hot seller.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But yes, I practically played the first 2 hours of the game. So basically, I reached the segment where you can reach the online segment of the game, which is optional. So far, I'm liking it more than the Wii U version. So
Okay, so you did play the Wii U version.
yes, I actually played like 80 to 100 hours of the Wii U version.
That's a lot of hours.
That's all of it.
I didn't realize games could be that long.
You said you're liking this more. Like, what did they change? Is more than a graphical upgrade?
First, it feels better to play. The original was a mess. Interface was extremely confusing. Some segment first felt like slow to move on. And a lot of this stuff has been fixed for the new version. It's not perfect because there are some little bits of lag, but there is basically no loading at all. So you can travel across the map, you can run. I can't wait for when I finally have the mecha. Flying to this game is amazing.
I've been watching Gene Park, a video game journalist for the Washington Post, is fucking obsessed with this game and got an early copy and has put like 200 hours into it and is like leveled. He's like the best player in the world at it. And he's just posting GIFs. Like, this is the most impressive open world in terms of, like, you remember how No Man's Sky was like, you could start on the ground and then go into space.
Yeah.
They're just doing it. He just started on the ground and he fucking jets up into the sky and he goes across the world and he fucking kills a dinosaur with a missile. Looks like the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, and the best
So
thing is
these games are action RPGs, right? Like,
yes,
you don't select spells or whatever.
So you have classes which have a different set of skills and arts. Just like any Xenoblade Chronicles game, like, I don't know if you play 1, 2, or 3, and you have at the bottom
I've
section.
never touched one of these.
Okay,
You
basically.
played as Shulk, though. Shirtless Shulk and Smash.
I've seen Shulk. I don't think I've ever even played as Shulk.
So think of it more like a turn-based like action RPG, like a mix. Like if you play Final Fantasy VII Remake, you have like on real time, but technically you are actually moving on turns, but with a cooldown. That's the only way that I can simplify things. So you're moving around, you can like set. You have to find a synergy with the other characters, so you can actually keep your health up and you can keep your ability moving on. And so there is a like how I can say it's like a turn-based. There we go. There is gameplay there. So consider it a turn-based RPG, but you move around and you have to keep it flowing.
Yeah, from what I've played of Xenoblade Chronicles 1, which was like 5 hours, several times I tried to play the first 5 hours. It's like a single-player MMO. It's like you and your party, but it kind of flows like an MMO where you're like positioning yourself and waiting for cooldowns and whatnot. So this isn't like a character action game. You're not like juggling folks.
Sure.
I know how much you love to juggle.
And you want once you get the flying mechas, you can actually fight with the mecha.
I like that.
Character. So
like it looks like Phantasy Star.
It does
online to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't tell if it plays like it because that game also gives you like abilities on cooldowns, but you have like attacks that you can just combos.
I think that's almost more active. Yeah.
But I don't know.
What if we start playing Phantasy Star?
It's really fun, but
what if we bail Yuji Naka?
I've not touched New Genesis yet. I was super excited when the trailer came out that they were doing that, and I just never went and played it. I would be intrigued to experiment.
That's how hype works. That's how hype works. So Eric,
it was my own hype.
It was your own. It was your own fault. Eric, thumbs up, thumbs down. You're giving it a thumbs up, and you're going to play more this weekend.
Thumbs up. I'm going to be playing hundreds of hours of this game. So I know this will be my game for the month, and
I love that. This version, it's like finally we fixed the technical problems of the Wii U using the power of the Switch. Like, that is insane. It is insane to say that in 2025. Like that the Switch is a technical savior.
And they fixed the eyes. I don't know if you remember the original game, how ugly this character looked like. It was really cool.
Eyes? Good. I'm glad they fixed her eyes. The Wii U, notoriously bad at eyes.
Well, there was a 3DS game that had bad feet. It was one of the Fire Emblems.
Bad feet?
Yeah. I can't remember which one it was, but like For some reason, all the
Awakening.
characters had like just real sharp feet, as opposed to like
that's Awakening.
Awakening.
Fire
Okay.
Emblem Awakening, bad feet. That's because they're out there inbreeding with all their warriors, having weird kids with webbed feet. Never good. Thank you, Eric. Thank you to our Xenoblade Chronicles X correspondent straight from the front lines of New Los Angeles, which is I've learned is the setting of that game. Before we settle up, a couple last super chats came in. Winged Potato with a $5 dono. Thank you so much. Going back to our convo earlier about sort of subversive mechanics and whatnot. Art films like funny games love to lure you in and then criticize you for watching that type of film, which I guess games have done. Spec Ops: The Line is famous for like listing your body count in load screens and being like, 10% of those were civilians. I bet you feel like a hero now. And you're like, well, fucking what? You told me to do it. I keep killing women in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I feel bad. If they have a health bar above them, they're bad. And if the game
they're
isn't
just in the enemy
desyncing
camp.
yeah, so they're like their servants and whatnot, and they're all level 1, so you can kill them really easily. But
I wonder if that's going to come back to bite you. I'd be interested in that.
They get it if they put a health bar above someone, they're bad. And then Jess was like, Marty, you have a health bar. I was like, oh, damn. I do have a health bar. So I'm excited to see where that goes. Darwin's Dummy, thank you so much. Been a member for a year, using the green message to say weeb shit. Marty, tell us about Half Dragon. Oh, my God. I forgot about Half Dragon. It wasn't Half Dragon. It was Dragon Half. Dragon Half is we watched. It is an OVA, an anime OVA based on a manga. It was only 2 episodes, so Dragon Half is only about 50 minutes long, 50,
Okay.
and it was the most entertaining anime I've watched yet in my Friday night anime bonanzas. It is I don't even know how to. It looks horny. It's not horny. It ends with breasts, but it's not horny. But it's a man named so it's like a king who's worried about this half.
Look, they got sharp feet.
It is insane. The characters also changed proportions. Doesn't matter what. Every shot they'll go from chibi to full adults to that, and they just don't care. So there's this king. I think this is what it was about. I think there's a king who's worried that this half dragon girl, the titular dragon half, is going to come like usurp the throne or something. And so he sends a famous. He's like an internet celebrity warrior named Dick Saucer, who she is a fan of. He sends him to kill her in a tournament, and they end up fighting in a tournament. And none of this is doing a good job of explaining it, but it is legitimately one of the funniest written, like seriously funny, written and delivered dubs, especially for the time. This was 90. This was 93.
Like it is classic 90s style.
It feels like Fooly Cooly in terms of like that kind of like humor where there's like a joke or a goof every 20 seconds, and 90% of the times they land. Like there are some like genuinely like moments where I was literally laughing out loud.
I think I need to watch
this. It's just
this
on YouTube. Where's Dragon Half? Dragon Half on YouTube. You just watch it on YouTube.
Dragon Half, yeah. This seems like a good time.
It's 50 minutes long. It's out of your life. You don't gotta worry. The dub's great. Yeah. I'm putting it in chat. This is it. Dragon Half. Everyone watch Dragon Half. It's wonderful.
Nice.
Then Sussy Guru, their last super chat. Thank you so much. €5 dono. I think a large map doesn't need to be full of activities. In real life, if you drive somewhere, you don't randomly stop to kill a wolf and loot some dog tallow. Counterpoint. What if you did? Yeah, it's tough. Like, I like that Red Dead's map is big and doesn't have a ton of stuff going on in it, but then other people are really bored by it. No, you can go a long ways without finding anything crazy. I mean, a long ways as in like, you can go like 2 minutes without finding a point of interest. But like existing there is the point.
Yes. Wait, are you talking about like Red Dead or Red Dead 2?
Red Dead 2, sorry.
Because I feel like 2 does have a lot of the like emergent things, but you can choose to just ride past them.
Yeah, you
like
can
they'll just put like, was kidnapping a lady or
help. And you're like, I don't trust that. You guys are probably gonna know this. Yeah, that's always. I mean, that's kind of like the age-old problem with open worlds, right? Is creating a map that is big enough to pique your curiosity, but dense enough to keep you interested throughout the entirety. So yeah, it's tough. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to how you do it. Like, for every Breath of the Wild that feels like it hits that balance, there's a I don't know. I feel like we're always punching Horizon, and I feel bad. But Horizon is just always the example of like everything here is fine, but I just don't want any of it.
Yeah, it's like if you've played any other game like it, you've already played Horizon. Is kind of how I feel, and not take away from its story, because I feel like its story is probably its unique hook that it has going for it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't so much of a hook that I kept playing.
Sure. Horizon feels like one that would work really well as I know it's in production somewhere at some point, but that would work well as like a mini series, right? Like
I think so.
Throw a bunch of money in it. That'd be a fun to Aloy seems like a cool character, but
give that one to Apple. See what they do with it. Make that Apple TV show.
Did you see Apple TV's losing $1 billion a year? Yeah. But also like
not surprised.
Fucking they're like Apple earbuds or whatever. iBuds, what are they called? iBuds? I can't be iBuds.
Not earpods.
iPods.
Are they all called earpods?
I think earpods. They make like $20 billion a year. So I'm like, well, it's just
they got that. They owe us that money back.
Yeah,
is what I say.
Yeah, you're ruining society. At least fund the arts. Hell yeah. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I think that'll do it for us today. As I said, we only went an hour, so that was great. Definitely didn't go over an hour, which was totally fine. Casey, what do you got going on? What should folks check out in your neck of the woods?
I don't have much in terms of content. There is a new short that you can see on the channel where I'm talking about a game that I'm very excited for, which hopefully drops this year, called Homura Hime. You can check that out. But outside of that, no wedding stream tomorrow. I have a thing, like I gotta go see some friends for some dinner, and then the weekend after that, there will also not be streams because that's the first wedding weekend. Mm-hmm. So stuff got to get done. People got to got humans probably gonna be in my house.
Humans,
yeah, like real life people other than me and the fiance. You're gonna be in here making noises. So I got to tend to that. But yeah, new episode of Adventures Not dropped this past Saturday. So watch that. It's great. God damn, that show is great. I am so entertained by the show that I made. Yeah. And I know that sounds like biased, but no, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I think other people might too. Outside of that,
so you'll be on most of the normal streams next week. Whether this show happens is going to be up in the air because I'm not going to be here, and I think I'm going to be in New York.
Yeah, it's probably a safe bet to say no for next
pod.
Thursday.
But I think Metal Gear will still happen. Not Metal Gear.
Metroid will probably still happen. Yeah,
Metroid Gear. And obviously Hidden Gems will happen on Monday.
Yeah. That should be good to go.
Hell yeah, cool. In terms our stuff, no Second Wind streams tomorrow. I'm also going to be out tomorrow, so no night stream from me. Just check out all the premium vids, all the streams we got going on, the pods. We should be back next week with a relatively normal schedule, barring the end of the week. But yeah, thanks as always. Thanks for all your support, for watching, for listening, for donating. Inverse Skies with $3 Australian. Eric said donate. Here it is. Eric, what are you doing? Can't be telling people to donate. But Inverse Skies, thank you so much. And Eric,
thank you.
You're telling people to donate. You're doing great. Thank you all so much. Everyone who watches live on YouTube, everyone who listens on their podcast service of choice, and especially our incredible patrons. We literally could not do the things we do without you. And we have a lot of really cool ideas that are sort of in the works for April and May. So excited to share those with y'all. So for Casey and Eric and the Airborne Nick, this was Marty. This was Firelink episode number 59. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursdays, and we'll see y'all next time.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.